Hello, I'm Nama Rue. This is my husband, Rabbi David Rue. And the Parshah, the Torah portion that we read this week is Parshah Tzav. And we're going to talk about something special from the Parshah that we learn about that is reflected among our ancestry until this day. What story do you have for us today?
Well, it says in the Parshah, Shatas begadav v'levash begadim acharim, that he takes off his garments and he puts on other garments. It's talking about when the Kohen is doing the avodah, he can't wear his own garments, and when he's finished with the avodah, he takes off the priestly garments and puts on his own garments. So, it once happened, Rav David Tzvi Chen, the Rav of Chernagrov, was a chassid of Reb Shmuel of Lubavitch, and he had a set time for a yichidus, for a private meeting with his Rebbe. And he was late. He had to go back soon. So he thought he'd sit in the anteroom to the Rebbe's study and ask him a quick question as the Rebbe left. As he was waiting there, the Gabbai arrived, and he was bringing a change of clothing for the Rebbe because he always perspired a lot when he was meeting the Hasidim and Yechidus. And the Shamash asked the Rav, or David Tzvi, why does he perspire so much? The whole thing lasts, an hour, hour and a half. It's not that long. What's going on? However, David Tzvi remained silent. So the Shamash said again, no, what is it that makes him sweat so much? It's just not normal. At this point, the door of the study, the Rebbe opened up, and Shmuel came out and said, I'm dismissing you at once. Please go home, and I'll send your pay every week. And it should be obvious why. When someone comes to me with a problem, I have to put myself in their shoes. I have to wear their garments. But to give them an answer, I have to change back into my own garments and be me. I meet many people in an hour. 10 people, 15 people, 20 people. So I have to change clothes at least 20 times in an hour. It's obvious. If you change clothes 20 times in an hour, you're going to perspire and sweat. Now, there are many stories about a Rebbe refusing to give a bracha in different circumstances. And one time, I don't remember which Rebbe it was about. I'm sure I've heard it about more than one. The Rebbe, after meeting someone, closed the door, said, I'm not meeting anything else today. And at the end, later, the Gabbai asked, why not? He said, I met someone I couldn't feel their problem. They can't feel their problem. You can't give a bracha for it. You have to work on it to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You have to be able to wear their garments. You have to, there's the English phrase, to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. You have to be able to feel where they are, what's going on with them. It's only when you can do that you can empathize and daven for someone properly. When a Kohen is bringing carbon for someone, which, of course, this whole sefer, to a large extent, deals with that, he has to put himself in that person's place. He has to offer this sacrifice. He has to allow the person to draw closer. But to be able to facilitate that, he has to feel what the person bringing the carbon is feeling. That level of empathy is of critical importance to us. When we're trying to help someone, can we feel what they're feeling? Should we take a step back and say, let me think about this for a minute? Do I know what's going on in their mind? And what can I do to help them given their perception of how things are? And with that, I think everyone should have a wonderful, reflective, meaningful Shabbos.
It reminds me, supporting people in many circumstances, like when people come to you when they're having, a difficult time and they want some clarity, or like for me, like as a doula, supporting a woman in labor or her family throughout the pregnancy and postpartum, like the empathy, it has to be there in order to be able to understand what their needs are.
I'm not going to tell the whole story, but when I was a young Dayan, we had a very difficult case, and I wasn't sure whether the get that we did would be kosher. So I said to the woman, we'll do the get. And then I'll go to Yerushalayim and ask the Gedolim there whether it's kosher or not. Sometimes it's easier to ask permission for forgiveness than permission. So I went to Rabbi Avram Shapiro, the former chief rabbi, state of Israel, Rosh Yeshiva of Merkaz Harav, Dayan in Yerushalayim for decades. And he started yelling at me. He said, "Didn't I feel the tsar and agmas nefesh, the pain and emotional suffering of this woman every minute that she doesn't know if she's divorced or not? How could I not give her the Maseh Beis Din immediately?" And he wouldn't accept any of the reasons that I was questioning the validity of the get. He was just, you have to feel what people are feeling. You can't do that. You don't have any business sitting in judgment.
So, with that, we should be in service to one another and be close to Hashem and remember the Parshah and learn from it and be elevated over Shabbat with our communities.
And have a good Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom.